First things first, take this out of your system. Video games are not just for children. Hello everyone, my name is Javier Serrano and today I'm gonna talk to you about video games as a digital literacy.
In this podcast, we're going to take a look at gaming in the 21st century as relates to the educational process. We'll look at the safety concerns and what to look for in an educational game. But first, let's look at what is gaming. Gaming is the act of playing a game. In the 21st century, it refers more to running an application on an electronic device. Gaming is also an act of gambling. When it comes to educational gaming, you do not want to take a gamble. Gaming in the 21st century can teach content and standards. According to Andrew Miller, in Game-Based Learning to Teach and Assess 21st Century Skills, it also can teach collaboration, communication, and critical thinking problem-solving skills. Let's look at all three of those. Collaboration skills learned through gaming can include learning to work together. Miller says teachers can translate the game experience to classroom teams through written reflection and discussions. Next, we have communication skills. Communication skills in gaming can include a chat window or via oral communication through a mindset, says Miller. These are both effective communication skills that are active that students need to know. The third one is critical thinking and problem-solving skills. These are integrated into a well-designed game that require players to solve a variety of complex problems, some of which require standards-aligned learning, says Miller. Many of these games require a higher level of thinking, such as evaluating and analyzing. Miller goes on to say, we must find time for students to play these games in and out of the class to teach the content and 21st century skills.
Hello, my name is Luz Estela Moreno, and I'm a multimedia specialist at the Learning Technology Center of NMSU State University. And continue with our conversation about game-based learning. I will talk about a couple of aspects that should be taken into account when considering games for learning purposes. Many schools and educators are now integrating games into the curriculum as to prepare students for future learning in a digital age. Lots of research support the idea that the interaction with games or simulations establish a robust mental model increasing interest and creativity on individuals. The idea is to use a game at the beginning of a lesson or unit to inspire the interest of students to the subject matter and to help them to establish a solid foundation of the learning material. Whether you are implementing a game-based curriculum or just integrating a game to complement a lesson, there are some considerations that teachers and parents should be aware on evaluating a game. Some crucial aspects that should be taken into consideration are the learning gains and the opportunities of the game, as well as its safety and privacy. Never before kids were using technology so early in their lives as now. Practically all kindergarten through K-12 teachers are regularly using digital games in the classroom, opening up new possibilities for teaching and learning and for increasing engagement in the classroom. This is great, but for what is important is that we must be reassured that the games we are using in the classroom are connected to our instructional goals. What this means? Well, not to use technology just for the sake of using it. We have to be able to show results from using and to show how the game or the technology aligns with the lesson or curriculum and how the game is going to help or facilitate the student achievement of those learning objectives. We need to ask our questions about what is the target of the game. Is the game targeted to help students to solve a math problem? Or what is the learning mechanics or actions a student will take to achieve the objective? What is the student thinking or what thinking is involved when students are playing the game? Dan White, founder of Filament Games, states that never should be a separation between the learning content and the mechanics of the game. That means that a student should not be doing anything in the game that is just for fun. We want the thing that the student is doing, the interaction and engaging with play, to be the same thing that the student is learning. Another crucial aspect for teachers as well as for parents when selecting games are safety and privacy. iPads, iPhones, and Android technology has increased the accessibility to the internet to a very young generation. It is surprisingly how early kids start surfing the internet. So there are so many reasons to be concerned for their privacy and safety. So now kids have much more opportunity to post and interchange photos and videos online since the webcams have become a standard feature on all mobile devices as well as in computers. In addition to this, all games require users to set up a personal profile. So this means personal information. All of these factors requires that the education on safety and privacy needs to go beyond the traditional advice of don't talk to strangers. Today, children need to be taught on how safely and responsibly judge and manage their own privacy as well as others in a wide range of contexts. Children need to learn the importance of personal identifiable information, how to represent themselves online, or what we call name branding, and how to decide whether or not to give information online. This is really crucial with respect of data privacy versus data mining that many websites constantly do. Teaching children the purpose of privacy policy for softwares and websites. The importance of having strong passwords. Also helping children to understand the intrinsic implication of sharing data is the crucial importance in now to safeguard their own identity at a very early age.
Game-based learning has some great advantages, but there are some dangers with using virtual reality as well. There are two main categories that we're going to talk about today, physical and socio-emotional safety. So we're going to start with physical safety. As we move into this virtual reality world, kids need to understand that they have to see the connection between the real world and their virtual world, and they also need to see the disconnection. And that being said, that our real world does have the stranger danger, as we were all taught in our everyday lives. And so kids need to understand that just because they're playing on a virtual world does not mean that stranger danger doesn't exist. We need to talk to them about how to be able to stay safe while playing these games, because there are some people out there who will do anything to get to kids. And by doing that, the best way of doing that is to use these virtual reality games, which they know that kids are using on a daily basis. So it's important that we talk to our kids about that stranger danger as it applies online and in the real world, because a lot of the virtual realities does have kids moving from place to place where they're seeing the real world around them through their little screen, and they just walk around and they have to do what they need to. And it's important that they understand that stranger danger is real, not just on the virtual reality side, but in the real world and looking at that disconnect. The second thing about physical safety we need to talk about is about taking it too far. As many of you have heard, Pokemon Go is a huge thing in our society today with our kids. However, there's a lot of things that people are doing that if they were actually not connected to their computer screen, I don't think they would do them regularly. For example, there's a lot of stories about people falling off of cliffs to get some type of Pokemon or whatever. That's where we need to understand where that disconnect comes from in the virtual reality world. We need to teach students that, you still have to use your common sense if you're going to be walking around using this Pokemon Go, because if they were not using their computer screens, I doubt that they would be jumping off the cliff for something that wasn't even there. And so we need to make sure that they understand that, yes, it's virtual reality, but yes, your physical safety is the most important thing, and we don't want you to get hurt in any way. So making sure that they understand that if something is leading them to a path or a place, such as trespassing, there's a lot of things going on with trespassing with Pokemon Go, that they understand that, you don't have to do this. Virtual reality is not reality. So making sure that they're really clear on the separation of those two and understanding that they do need to be physically safe while using virtual reality. The second category we're going to talk about is socio-emotional danger. So one of the main things that we saw a couple of years ago, or even last 10, 15, 20 years, is the addiction to gaming. There are some people in this world who get so involved with the virtual world that they forget about the real world that's going on around them, whether it is because they feel that their virtual world is better than their real world, whatever the case. But we need to make sure that we're explaining to the kids that the virtual world is not the real world. And they need to have that clear understanding that it can be addictive. And so we need to make sure that we're setting up those barriers and having those conversations with our students or our own children about the difference between the two worlds and how they are not to be interchangeable. They are not the virtual world is not supposed to take over of your real world, take the place of, of your real world. So we need to make sure that the kids understand the difference in that area, because if we don't set up those clear understandings and really help them to work through that, they can become addicted to gaming and in that virtual world, which will affect their communication with others. Kids need to understand that their communication with others is very different on screen than it is face to face. And if we have kids that are only interacting with each other through the screen, you're not able to pick up on the physical nonverbal cues of human interaction. And I think that's a huge thing. So kids think that they can say whatever they want to when they are hiding behind the computer screen or the cell phone, iPad screen, whatever they have. They're hiding behind that screen. So being able to have those conversations about that digital footprint, students being able to know that what they say, it cannot be taken back in the virtual world. Anything they say or do can be looked up and found online. And communication with other people in that sense also needs to be handled with care, because there are some people who do get addicted to gaming, and when this is their whole life and people are rude to them or mean to them, there are some very scary real things like suicide that happen with people who feel that they are not being looked at or appreciated the same as everybody else. So it's important that we teach our kids that virtual reality is not reality. It may look like it is, but it's not. And our main focus is to make sure that the kids are using the virtual reality for its advantages, but we still need to address the safety concerns of physical safety and social emotional safety.
In general, video games are good for you because they enhance memorization, analytical skills, cooperation, and competitivity. They can improve players' moods, promote relaxation, and ward off anxiety, and even improve surgical abilities for doctors. And they also engage in challenge players, present complex representations and experiences, foster collaborative learning, and promote deep learning.
Well, now you know. Video games can help you to develop new skills and to enhance the skills that you already have. But remember, video games can also be dangerous if they are not used properly. So definitely go and play some video games, enjoy it, and remember, if you drive, don't play video games. At least not at the same time. See you later. Thank you for listening.